one-shot just about any amount of Zerg units, it seems like. Although it looks like he does have a pretty sizable army. When you're going against that many Colossus, it really becomes important to separate your army and attack from multiple fronts, so not all of your army is taking that splash damage at once, because if they hit you at the right angle, they can take out a huge chunk of your army relatively quickly. It does look like Dimaga started getting up another hatchery, so he is aware that Hasu has expanded to his natural, and it looks like he is trying to respond to that by getting expansion of himself, and now bringing out an Infestor. An Infestor can do a few different abilities, Neural Parasite and Fungal Growth, in my opinion, the two best abilities. Fungal Growth is great against infantry armies, and I'm guessing he wants to use that Neural Parasite against the Colossi, because if you can cast that on a Colossi, it does the splash damage against the enemy units, basically giving that unit to you. Works as a form of mind control. Although it would be temporary, it does allow him to control those units rather than those being against him. So if he can manage to mind control these Colossi, that could be a big win for him. He does have a couple of Infestors out on the field now, and one Overseer, just to make sure he does not get run over by any DTs. And it looks like a Twilight Council now going down for Hasu, so he may be teching towards High Templars. It would be my guess, since Psystorm is extremely effective against Zerg. And this hatchery now finishing at the 9 o'clock expansion here for Dimaga, so he's going to be getting drones up and running on that, and setting a few Hydras around right now, trying to keep track of the rest of the bases on the map. And it looks like he may lose this. No, he's going to get this Void Ray this Void Ray away just in time. These three Hydralisks doing a lot of damage to that very quickly. Void Rays can be very powerful if there's no anti-air around, but anti-air takes Void Rays down so quickly. And it looks like we got a Warp Prism here carrying a probe. And he's actually going to put it up on the high ground. We may see some cannons here putting a pylon down right now. We may see some cannons here doing some harassment on this expansion. And you know what? Yeah, we do see mobile pylon field going down. As you can see, this pylon, once it's finished, will cover these cannons. So this essentially allows him to warp in these pylons and cannons without having an actual pylon there. So these cannons now will be powered by this pylon once they come in, and he can warp this back or change this back into a transport, essentially, rather than the mobile pylon field, which forces it to be stationary. And I don't believe that at this point, yeah, Dimaga is unaware of this. He does not have an Overlord over here to spot the high ground, although now he's going to see that these photon cannons firing against that base, so he's going to have to pull some drones off. Of course, this extractor and these mineral patches under fire, and it looks like we have a battle about to go underway here. A lot of Zerg units here, and some force fields going down, blocking them from getting to him. There are a decent amount of Zerglings and Roaches. Roaches, of course, have less range than Hydralisks do, so ideally you want to have your Roaches on the front lines with your Zerglings, and then behind that have a layer of Roaches. And it looks like there is an observer above a chunk of the Zerg army, so he's going to be aware of when that army moves about and what their movements are on the map. It also looks like Hasu has decided to try to take this try to take this expansion, putting down a Nexus here in the lower right corner. So he's going to have his second expansion up, although at the same time, Dimaga putting up an expansion over here just above the 3 o'clock expansion that he just started, and then also another expansion going down at the 12 o'clock, it looks like. So double expanding at this point. Dimaga controls a huge portion of the map right now, although he may need to do something about these cannons on this ledge here sooner than later. Although I guess that may not necessarily be something that he needs to worry about right away, I guess, because he does have a lot of the map. Although losing this base would definitely not be ideal. He is losing a little bit of tech right now. You can see the Infestor pit going down and losing the Roach Warren. And it looks like he is not building another one yet, although he is building a Roach Warren. No Infestor pit yet, though, so not going to be building that tech. And it looks like despite clearing out the destructible rocks here, he has not taken over the high yield expansion yet. So, but he is taking down the destructible rocks up at the other high yield expansion. 2 high yield expansions on the base, and on the map, and he has taken down both. So we may see him trying to take over these high yields soon, although he does have other expansions to worry about getting up and running at this point. The hatchery over here just finishing, although it looks like we do have a Warp Prism in mobile pylon mode, although it looks like Dimaga has spotted it, and he's going to come back here and try to snipe that before any units are warped in, or at least I thought he was. Yeah, there we go. So it looks like he's going to be able to take this down without any problems. No unit's going to be warped in over there. And he is building another hatchery over at the high yield minerals on the other side. So at this point, Dimaga pretty much has this entire part of the map taken over. And the only bases he doesn't have is the island in the top left and then the natural expansion for the 12 o'clock position. So he just taking over a huge amount of bases right now, although a large Protoss army moving out now, throwing down some Guardian Shield. And it looks like Dimaga's going to have to figure out a way to deal with this right now. He actually managed to take out a lot of these Zealots because they get a little bit careless, although you can see these Colossi. Oh, and Psystorm going down too, doing a huge amount of damage. Another Psystorm right there. You can see they just melt those Zerg units as this Zerg army starts to disappear. Although he did manage to do a lot of damage to that Protoss army, he also took some pretty heavy hits himself. And taking a look at the units lost overlay here, we can see that the Protoss player has lost significantly more units as far as cost goes, although it is going in his favor right now since he is doing some damage still up to the base over here, the natural expansion of Dimaga. He has managed to take out some units. It looks like he had some Hydralisks over here. I must have missed a small battle there. And there are some Stalkers warped in now using this mobile pylon field here and the warp-in technology, trying to take down this hatchery. And losing this hatchery at this point would not be too huge of a hit considering how many other bases he has right now. Although it would be ideal not to lose your main expansion initially. Looking back at his other bases right now, he does have another queen out over here and got a good amount of drones harvesting there and just macroing up right now on his newest bases. Nothing at the high yield yet, although it looks like he's building some drones there. And another queen up at the 12 o'clock expansion. So a lot of queens and a lot of drones going down. He's actually got, let's take a look at the units overlay here. He has got a total of 61 drones, which actually surprisingly enough for the amount of bases he has is not as many as Hasu has. You can see here he has a huge amount of probes on this one base here. And it looks like he may be moving in with some Broodlords here, trying to pick off some of these units early, although there are a lot of Stalkers and more coming in right now. So I don't think these Broodlords are going to be able to do a whole lot without the support of the rest of his army. And you can see those little Broodlings that spawn after the Broodlords hit, chasing after that Protoss army. A couple, and it looks like he might be trying to focus fire down these Colossi. This one very low on health right now, and getting a Psystorm down on the Broodlords. Oh, and the Hydra is getting hit by that as well. That army taking a lot of damage. You can see a lot of these units up in the front already softened up quite a bit. So this game going back and forth right now at the entrance of Hasu's base, and it looks like some of the units getting pulled away from the main Zerg army here, and he loses a few of those Hydralisks and Roaches before he's able to pull them back out of the line of fire from this Protoss army. Two Colossi in the mix with these High Templars and Stalkers. It looks like he is sticking with a primarily ranged army at this point and still trying to do some damage up here, although with the help of the Broodlords, it looks like Dimaga may be able to clean up this this cliff here that's been troubling him for so long, taking down a couple of these cannons now, and it looks like Hasu trying to warp in more units. Meanwhile, another attack going on here at the front of Hasu's base. So just constant action on both fronts here right now. Although if this game goes on for too much longer without Hasu being able to take out some more expansions and pull some more in of his own, he may be in trouble because he is still only on 2 bases because his main is now mined out and his first expansion starting to get pretty low, and then his second expansion down here still just now finishing up macroing up some probes here. But he is going to need more bases than that if he wants to continue to stay in this game against a Zerg player who has an enormous amount of bases right now. Although it looks like his army slowly getting whittled away here. It seems like every time we come back to this side of the map for a battle, he's got less and less units. And a couple Corruptors coming out here to aid in the fight. Corruptors are able to hit the Colossi, of course, because Colossi can be hit by anti-air and anti-ground because of how tall they are. And it looks like a really good mix of units here from Dimaga. He's got a little bit of just about everything in the mix right now. And moving in, some Psystorms going down, although not getting a whole lot of damage because Dimaga was able to pull out most of his units before taking damage on them. So as you can see, just a few hit points taking off some of these Roaches here, and the rest of his army is relatively untouched. Losing one of those observers there because it got a little bit too close to that Overseer. And it looks like Hasu trying to micro back and forth, pick off units where he can. Now he does have a couple of Void Rays in the mix. I'm a little bit surprised to see that, simply because there are not any high HP units that would really be taken down by those very easily. So not sure exactly why those are in. I would think those would better serve taking out some of these expansions because there's not a whole lot of anti-air. But we'll see what happens. And it looks like Hasu actually sneaking in the expansion up in the top left here, although Dimaga is going to be aware of it because he does have an Overlord in the vicinity. But actually that kind of a slap in the face since it's right behind a whole line of expansions from Dimaga on this side of the map. So we'll see if he's able to hold on to that one since it's pretty much isolated from everything else he has right now. And it looks like Dimaga has not chosen to build back at this expansion yet. I'm not sure if he's planning on getting that or if he wants to mine out the other bases that he has right now. And more Psystorms going down as the Dimaga player tries to push in on Hasu's base here right now. But with that Psystorm just able to effectively hold that off. Psystorm's so powerful again against Zerg units, especially the Hydralisk now that they have less HP. And it looks like the Zerg army is going to be facing down some Colossi once again here. You can see the